Welcome to the Dreamers Hub podcast. This podcast is about collaboration between the dreamers and the doers to inspire more people to do more of the things that they enjoy doing. This hub is focused on providing you the kick in the ass you need to jumpstart your dreams. So if you're into that kind of thing, consider subscribing. Yo, welcome back to the Dreamers Hub podcast. My name is Nettie, and today I'm here with a new guest. His name is Nick. He is a dog trainer, owner of Activated Canine, and he's politely invited me over to chat about his journey and his experience of becoming a business owner and basically taking the leap. So, Nick, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you here. I really quick wanted to touch on how we linked up.
Yeah, I remember, was it maybe like a couple of months ago, I think I reached out because I wanted to kind of start my own podcast, and I kind of saw you doing your thing and started asking you about like equipment and stuff like that.
All right, so we linked up on Instagram, and I've been a big advocate of, making friends online and normalizing that, because I really do think you can find a good amount of people out there that vibe with you and connect with you. So let's talk about a little bit how you got into the actual dog training aspect of this business.
Got it. So before it was a business, I got into it just trying to train my own dogs, right? So later on in life, when I got my own job, got my own house, we got this Rottweiler. Mind you, like, we had dogs like growing up as kids and stuff, but like my actual first dog, like this was going to be my dog. We got this Rottweiler, and even before I got that dog, I always envisioned myself having this really well-trained dog that did all these cool things, that, listened to everything that I said, pretty much almost like a robot.
Yeah.
So when I got that dog, I first started to try and, watch videos on YouTube, read books and stuff like that. I tried doing the Petco thing, the PetSmart thing. I tried one or two local dog trainers here in town at that time, and just wasn't really satisfied with the results, which kind of led me to travel outside of Bakersfield. So started looking in LA.
To find one.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. Wow. So then I linked up with trainers in LA, and I was going out there once or twice a week just to go train my own dog. Again, just to I was a client of these people, right? Without even the intentions of thinking that I wanted to be a dog trainer. Like, I just wanted to train my dog, right? And then I look at him as a mentor. One of my homies was like, you know what? Like, if you say that they don't have this type of training in Bakersfield, why don't you bring this over there, right? And so it took him about a year to kind of talk me into it, because I was just like, I wasn't really into it like that. Like, I just wanted to train my dog, and then finally I was just like, all right, I'll do it, so.
Dang, that's crazy. So let's talk about a little bit about your background, kind of like where you came from before you started this dog training thing.
Got it. Yeah, so prior to the dog training thing, I was working as a nurse for the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation.
Snap. This is new to me too, y'all.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
I did that for about 9 years. So I was working for the state prison for 9 years as a nurse. At the same time, though, like, I was always kind of like training my own dogs on the side.
Yeah.
I did that about 9 years up until last July is when I made that jump.
And so what led you to get to that point, I guess? What were those last couple months when you knew that, did you feel it was coming, or like? Yeah,
so like, I was financially ready, I want to say like 6 to 8 months prior, right?
Okay, so you prepped.
Yeah, because so I want to say we started the dog training business side probably like a year and a half or 2 years prior to last year, when I actually made that jump, right?
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't like I'm quitting my job and starting something brand new. Like, this was kind of organically
building up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So.
Gotcha. And when you finally said, okay, it's time to go, it's like go time, what was that like, or how was the setup for that?
Like, mentally, I wasn't ready yet. Right? So for me personally, I feel like I had a lot more on my plate to kind of think about versus like the average person that would have been in the same situation. For one, like, I was working for the state of California, right? I had a state job. not only did we have a 401k, we had a pension, you know, a
And you guys were
retirement package.
hooked up.
Yeah. And then at the same time, it was one of those jobs where if I needed to make extra money, I could work overtime every day if I wanted to. So I had that to think about. I also have a family, so I have 2 kids, right?
Yikes.
So like the medical insurance was a big deal for me. And then not only for my kids, but more so for me because when I was 18, I was diagnosed with a kidney disease, right? So I really needed the insurance more than anybody in my family.
Jesus, okay.
Right? So I had that to kind of think about.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I was kind of ready, but I wasn't ready. And even with like my wife, for example, telling me like, hey, if you're ready, then just do it. I had my direct supervisor at work at the time. Like she was even telling me like, dude, you got to go. You got to go. And even with all these people telling me and
it's go time. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't ready. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm going to leave December of 2019, which was this past December, right? So I set myself for that. And then one day I literally went into work, looked in the mirror, and I was just like, I don't want to do this no more. Like, I want to train dogs for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then literally that same day, I typed up my resignation letter, gave my 30 days notice, and then left July of last year. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
let's talk about okay, so I know the feeling of like, I guess I want to dive deep into like the feeling of what you felt. Like, were you miserable at work? Like, how did other people know that it was time for you to go?
Yeah, so like I said, so years prior to this, like I was already getting into the dog training stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I would come into work. That's all I would talk about to people,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Almost to the point where like when we would have new hires and people would kind of introduce me to them, they're like, oh, this is Nick. Like all he's going to talk about is dogs and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
So it was, you know, it was that. We would start our shift at 6 a.m. at the prison every day, right? So I would come in and literally by like 6:30, I'm already like emailing my wife at home saying like, I can't do this no more. I can't do this no more. As soon as I hit that gate coming in or the first gate, I was already just mentally drained. I didn't want to be there no more because I already like all I would think about is this, like training dogs and stuff like that. So it kind of got mentally draining a little bit, and to the point where like I would be at work and I was just more physically tired than usual. And then as soon as I hit that gate and left to go home, like instantly I had all this energy. You know what I'm saying?
Low-key, isn't that everybody? Like everybody hates being at work and then finally you have all the energy after you leave.
Exactly.
That's wild. How did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Is it something that kept constantly like itching at you or like
So, like, I don't think I really hit that point where I was just like, you know what, I'm pretty good at this. Let me try to pursue this. It was kind of like the opposite, right? But I was, like, so obsessed with it, which kind of led and pushed me to want to learn more, to seek out more knowledge and stuff like that, which kept me going, you know, up until, like, even now. Like, I'm still always trying to learn more.
Let's circle back to at what point you were ready to take the leap. I know you said that you were ready to like you prepped up until doing that. Was there a moment in time where you felt like, is this the right thing? After I know you put your 30-day notice in, but within those 30 days, how are you feeling? Because now you've set up to go.
So I've always looked at specific things that happened throughout my lifetime, that they happened for a reason, right? So when I put that 30-day notice, I was telling myself, I was like, okay, if this ain't meant to be, then something's gonna happen to where I end up staying at work within that 30 days, right? So that's how I kind of looked at it. And then when, you know, it didn't happen, I was like, all right, it's go time.
It's go time.
You know?
One of the biggest obstacles for most people to try to pursue anything that they really enjoy doing is fear. Right. And so what obstacles, either internally or externally, did you run into prior to the 30 days or within the 30 days that you felt like?
Honestly, after I gave that 30 days, nothing really. No, not at all. Not like prior to that, you know, maybe like again, like I was thinking about all these other things that I had to deal with aside from just like, you know, leaving my secured state job to try and pursue this full time.
Yeah.
But like what I tell people is like before we turned this into a business, like this was just a hobby, right? So I didn't get into it automatically thinking, all right, I'm going to start a dog training business. Like I just did it because I love doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, you know, just doing it like that. And then at the same time, like I had this secure job where, you know, financially, you know, I was able to support myself and my family. It never got to that point where I was just like, oh, I'm not making any money. Like, you know, I think if I got into it specifically that way, I would have like gave up a long time ago.
Family sometimes can get in the way of things that you're trying to pursue because they don't see it yet.
Right.
And a lot of it is yet, because if those people do end up taking the leap, you know, that support comes about. But I know you talked about your wife supporting you, and some of your colleagues supporting you. But how was your support system like prior to that?
So, you know, I come from a traditional Filipino family, right? We're from, you know, when the kids are really small, they're already grooming them to become nurses and doctors and stuff like that. So I want to say I was probably like the first one to really kind of
break that mold,
even though like, I ended up becoming a nurse and working for like 9 years, you know. So when I first kind of told my family about it, you know, it was kind of one of those things where they were trying to tell me, okay, well, that's cool. You could just do that on the side, but keep doing what you're doing, being a nurse. Like, it's a secure job. You're always going to have a job type of thing. I remember specifically one incident with a specific family member. I ain't going to say who it is.
Don't say it.
But I think my kid was, like, joking around, and they were asking my kid, like, what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I think my kid at the time said something along the lines of being like his dad. He wants to be like a dog trainer and stuff like that, right? And this is, again, before I started pursuing this full time. And I remember that specific person basically telling my son, like, nah, like, that ain't good. Like, you know, you're not going to be able to basically make a living off of it and support your family and stuff like that, right? So, you know, like, I was kind of hurt. But at the same time, you know, I just kind of used it to, you know, it's kind of like, like motivation to kind of keep on going. I remember first telling certain people at work about it, and I remember like a group of my close coworkers, you know, trying to tell me all the wrong things that could happen. You know, you're not going to get clients, you know, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, you know, so that type of stuff, you know. But then, like, when they started seeing it, they were kind of like, okay, well, you know, he's onto something, right? And then when I finally made that jump, everybody was just kind of like, okay, you know, you did it. You know?
Isn't that crazy though? Like, because I feel like for most people, if you weren't as mentally strong as you were and passionate about what you're doing, that in itself, having everybody around you tell you all the things that could go wrong, you know, because they have some fears and doubts about what's happening and don't really, maybe at that point they weren't seeing how much you were passionate about it. Would you say, comparing it to where you're at now, would you say that you made the right choice, for one? And what is was it liberating for you? Like, what was that feeling like? Because you took a leap that not a lot of people can take. And so I know that moment can be liberating for most people, you know. And it sounds weird because you would think financial freedom would be the one thing that most people are reaching. But in your case, you're following your passion. You're growing a business, starting a business and growing a business. You know, with all these things that you have, you know, as far as your family goes. What was that like for you, or what is the feeling that you have now comparing to from where you're at now to where you were prior to?
So I kind of look back now to the time when I you know, was feeling uneasy about making that leap, and I was like, you know what, that was actually not too bad, you know, now that I look back at it, right? But at the same time, like, so, like, going back to, like, your prior question and my support system and all these people who kind of doubted me at first. At the same time, I had people around me that did support me, that were going through the same thing, or who went through the same thing that I went through, right? So I had, you know, somewhat of some mentors around me, you know, giving me advice and me seeing it you know, them going through it, and I was just like, okay, well, you know, it's possible. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Do you think if those mentors or the people, your support system, if they wouldn't have taken the leap, would you been able to say like, well, if they can do it, I can do it? Or would it taken you just longer?
I think it probably would have just took me a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It would have took me a little bit longer because like so like one of my homies, I think he probably left his job maybe like 6 to 12 months prior to me, but then everybody else I was already associating with, they already like they've been doing this their whole life. Like they didn't, you know, leave a job and
Oh
do
wow, they
like
went straight into it. Yeah.
exactly.
I see. So you have I mean, so you had a little bit of a different path, but you essentially ended up where you wanted to be.
Yeah, so what I told myself in my early 20s was like by the time I'm 30 years old, I was going to find something that I enjoyed doing and I was going to be able to make a living off of it and support my family. At the time I didn't know what it was. And again, like when I left my job last July, I was 31, so almost made it.
Wow,
you know?
yeah,
So,
that's crazy.
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about, we talk about your journey, and I'm still at my job, and at some point I hope to be in that position to be able to make that call, plan for it, and leave.
Yeah.
But for those people that maybe are ready to go and need that push, I guess what would be some of the advice you would be able to give somebody, maybe your younger self, that other people can use listening to this?
Yeah, so my thing is make sure you're set up, right? For sure financially, make sure you're set up. Make sure you have a little cushion to last you at least 6 to 12 months. And if everything's lined up with your business and you're bringing in the revenue and stuff like that, just do it. Just do it. And the one thing too that I noticed when I made that jump is that I was able to now fully dedicate all my energy into this, which, I just saw my business grow even more when that happened.
From there, because you had the time.
Yeah, versus like doing it part-time and working full-time at my 9 to 5 job that I had.
Yeah. From the lenses of being passionate about something, what would be your advice for people that maybe haven't found it yet?
Just keep searching. Just keep searching. So, growing up, like I got into a lot of different things. I was DJing back in the day, doing stuff like that.
Okay.
We tried starting like our own clothing brand and stuff like that. I remember, I don't know if we were the first people to do it, but we had started this one brand where we duplicated like Jordan shoes and we made them air fresheners. And at that time, there was probably like one other only business doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we went. I was trying to search for my passion.
So you tried different things.
Yeah.
Damn, that's
for sure.
crazy.
Because I think I was always into that creative side of things. You know what I'm saying? So like creating stuff, making stuff. So same thing with like dog training. Like with dog training, I feel like it's an art, right? And you could Google Los Angeles dog trainer, right? And I just say Los Angeles because it's much bigger than Bakersfield. And you could pick 5 different dog trainers, and every one of those dog trainers are going to have their own style, or their own way of doing things. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you think that, because you just brought up like you tried a bunch of different things, do people look at you crazy because you tried a bunch of different things?
Oh, yeah. So when I got into
I feel like I run into that a lot.
Yeah, so when I got into the dog stuff, like there was a lot of people at work that was like, that's Nick. He's gonna be into dogs this week, and then he's probably gonna be into parrots next week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was always like that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then like dog training was one of those things that kind of stuck to me. You know what I mean? So, and I just, like I said, I got obsessed with it, and I wanted to keep learning more. And again, without going into it specifically first with thinking, okay, I'm gonna make money from this, I'm going to turn this into a business. Like, I just wanted to train my own dogs,
Yeah, so you were in it for, like, the long run. You weren't looking at the financial aspect at all.
Yeah, no, I was just, like I said, it was just a hobby to me that I really liked doing, you know, so.
When you, I guess, started looking into the area and actually started considering doing, this for a living, I guess, how long did that process take you to figure out?
Like I said, it took my homie about a year to actually push me kind of do it. So it took me like about a good year, but I didn't, again, like I just was like, all right, fuck it, I'm going to start it.
So the convincing took a year, but as far as like when you said, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
That portion of it, how long did that take?
Oh, that just happened instantly. Like I started, getting my business permit. I started looking at other guidelines that I need to follow and stuff like that in terms of like, the business aspect side of starting a business and stuff like that. Because I was like, I want to do it legit. Like I want to be, for real about it.
The business aspect. Now you said you did a lot of research. Going through this conversation, you do a lot of research for yourself, right? A lot of it was just for yourself.
Yeah.
Until it got to the point of becoming a business owner.
Yeah.
I guess what would your advice be, or what are some tidbits that you can give for people maybe trying to pursue a business, not necessarily a dog trainer business, but a business in general? Because I think a lot of people hype that up to be something crazy.
Got it. So it depends on what type of business that you're going to start, but the first thing is going to go get your business permit. If you're going to be selling any type of products, I think they require you to get like a sales or tax type of permit or something like that. Yeah, exactly. So that.
But the process itself of saying like, okay, here's my paperwork, I'm a business owner. How long would you say that took you?
I could literally go downtown on Monday and fill, as long as I go there with the application, they'll give you the permit right there and then that same day.
That's
so
crazy,
so it's nothing like crazy. I think it's more so crazy having to just deal with trying to find parking downtown and going into the building, trying to find the right building and which form do I have to fill out. I think that's more tedious than actually doing it. But if you got all that lined up, then it's a pretty easy process.
Right?
Like there's no really I don't see people not getting approved.
Really do appreciate all the advice you gave people. I really think it's going to be helpful for a lot of people because you have a different journey of getting to where you ended up being. You actually had a plan to go through it and all that stuff, which I think for a lot of people, if you're calculated, that actually brings a lot of value to people. Being calculated, or if you're, somewhat irrational and jumping into things can sometimes work for some people.
For sure.
And depending on what person you are, just know that there is a way to get to where you're going. And sometimes for some people that takes a little bit of planning. I want to thank Nick for being on the podcast. I appreciate you for being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure to check out the YouTube video if you haven't. There's a YouTube video of this, like on Apple Podcasts. We're also on Spotify. Thanks again. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Now hold up. Before we part ways, I want to thank you for listening in. I'd appreciate you helping me inspire others like yourself by simply sharing this podcast with a friend. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, I'd love for you to rate it on Apple Podcasts. Be sure to tune in for more inspirational content next week.